Hey guys, Jason here to talk about the latest DMP set, Legend of Plays 2023. This is a reprint set, and I believe it is the second anniversary set of Duel Masters Plays. Last year, Andrew and I did a pack opening for Legend of Plays 2022. I think that is the set that brought Balmedius Sapphire back into New Division. But this time around, I'm just going to be doing a discussion video because Andrew and I blew all of our gold on set 17 trying to pull the Victory Rare Hyperspatial spell. Now, some important details surrounding the set. Cards in this set can be used for a year after this set's release in New Division, so functionally it's like a new set. And some reprinted cards have card adjustments. This mainly affected cards with a search ability related to the graveyard and mana zone. So this is pretty interesting because if you think about it, the search mechanic works differently to how it did when the game first came out. Like when the game first came out, a search effect would generate 3 entries from a library and then you would choose one of the 3. Whereas these days, at least with the newer cards, it's like how it works in the paper card game. Like if you think of Soul Swap, it doesn't generate 3 random creatures from your mana zone. Instead, it just gives you access to your entire mana zone. Now, another thing is discard effects, mainly changed to be random instead of opponent's choice. This is something that the DMP devs seem to change their minds a lot on. When the game first came out, I think most cards were random discard, and then later on, they were changed to opponent chooses, like things like Ghost Touch and Locomotiver, and it looks like here they are circling back to random. I guess it's healthy to change this depending on how you want the game to go. So sometimes the devs think discard is too overpowered, so they make most discard cards opponent chooses. But then when they want to make discard stronger, or if it's like a little underwhelming in a given format, maybe they bring it back to random. So I guess that makes sense. As Andrew would say, hashtag DMP has done nothing wrong. Now, jumping into the set. The first card that catches my eye is Heaven's Gate, and this is a reprint that will no doubt elicit some very strong reactions from the fan base. I think this is going to sound really crazy, but especially given how much I complain about control decks, but I think I'm ready to play in a format with Heaven's Gate once again. It's been a hot minute, and I am not as traumatized as some people are by this card. I know Andrew has very strong emotions for this card because he played at a time when it was at the height of its powers, so you just break into Heaven's Gate and then you're pretty much done. For me, I think I started playing when it was at the tail end of its competitive life. So sometimes it was super annoying, yeah, but other times it was just kind of there, and sometimes it was also a little bricky. I think there are going to be some new cards, or some existing cards, in fact, that interact well with Heaven's Gate. So I'm very interested to see how this affects the meta. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic for Heaven's Gate being back in New Division. Please do not dislike this video. Now, some other cards in the light section, which is looking awfully thin. We've got an alternate art Tulk the Oracle, so that's kind of cute. And then we also have, so we got the fancy artwork for DNA Spark. We've got the waifu art. Looks like the DMP devs are pushing DNA Spark to be the next flagship, like light spell, shield trigger kind of card, replacing Holy Awe. So, DNA Spark getting this sort of printing totally makes sense. Now, moving on, we have the water section, and Icy Kiriko. Now, if you've been following New Division, you will, or at least New Division for a while, you will know that Emperor Kiriko is a card that has been a relevant player in New Division for a really long time. Since its release, I want to say. I think it's in its last New Division format now, but the DMP devs seem to want to keep the mechanic. So, this card reads, when this enters the battle zone, put all your other creatures on the bottom of your deck, then put that many non-evolution creatures, +2 from the top of your deck into the battle zone for each creature you put back. Then shuffle your deck, and it's a once per turn. It is 8 mana, 13,000, so quite similar to Kiriko in stats. I think what makes this card a little bit worse than the current Emperor Kiriko is that the existing Kiriko can be played from your mana zone. The Origins have that Soul Swap-esque card, Sanctuary of something, the name escapes me, and so you just need to dump Kiriko in mana zone, and then you can hard cast Amaterasu if you have a creature out, play the spell from your deck, and then happy birthday. With this, it's an evolution, and it operates more similarly to a traditional evolution. It does have a higher upside, admittedly. I think the way I interpret this effect is that you get 2 creatures at the very minimum, and then if you return more creatures, well, realistically, you could fill up your board. I am cautiously optimistic. I hope that's not something that I have to keep saying in this video, but I don't know. I think this card could be good, but it's hard to say. I'm also not the best judge of potential for cards because I seem to think everything is strong. All right, so that is enough Kiriko. Moving on, we've also got, so this is the vacuum spell. I think this card came out in the latest set. It's like you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, grab I was going to say water, you grab a fire or nature card, and then put it in your hand, and then if you did, bounce one of your opponent's creatures. So unconditional spot removal, very nice. And it looks like this handsome gentleman is thinking about what fire or nature card he wants to grab off the top 5. So it looks like they are pushing this as the next big water spell. Sorry, Aqua Surfer, or water shield trigger. Emergency Typhoon, that's kind of interesting. I feel like this card gets a lot of reprints, and I can't remember if it got a reprint in the last Legend of Plays, but I feel like it did. So there we go, more Emergency Typhoon. I guess it makes sense. It's a pretty versatile card in the sense that it interacts with the hand guard creatures, even though those aren't so hot these days. And it also interacts really well with graveyard-centric mechanics, like cards that function by being in the graveyard, or cards that function by having more cards in your graveyard. So I guess that makes sense. We've also got a reprint of Aqua Burster. I quite like this card. I feel like this card is very balanced. I guess if you're a fan of psychic creatures, then this card is insane because it just gets rid of them. But yeah, I don't know. I think this card is a lot more flexible than Aqua Surfer in many situations, but which one is better? Who's to say? Moving on to the darkness section. So it looks like the special art card goes to Deathgate, and it has the waifu art. I think similarly to how DNA Spark is being pushed as the next Holy Awe, it seems as if this card is being pushed as the next Terror Pit, which makes sense. Power creeping is definitely a thing, and even though this card is not strictly better than Terror Pit in every situation, it certainly has a larger upside, so I can see why many people would opt to play this over good old Demon Hand. Jenny the Dismantling Puppet also gets a reprint. I think this card is pretty popular in the OCG, so I guess it makes sense that they're bringing it back. So here we go, there's Jenny. Now I noticed 2 bullet points of text, so I'm just going to check and see if it's the same or if they errated it. Alright, so when it enters, choose one of the following. They discard lowest cost or highest cost. Ooh, so that's interesting. They basically gave Jenny the Dismantling Puppet the Jenny Darts effect. So maybe all future Jenny cards are going to have this sort of text. Alright. Bone Dance Charger is a very peculiar reprint as well. I am pretty sure that this card got a reprint in the last Legend of Plays set. So it seems as if the DMP devs really like this card. I guess it's fine. It doesn't hurt to have cards like this in the format, especially if you want those ultra graveyard-centric decks like MRC. I just find it very interesting that this card keeps getting reprinted. All right. Oh, there's Ghost Touch, so there we go. Just like how we talked about the revision to the discard mechanic at the start of the video. Moving on, we've got some psychic, I was going to say psychic spells. Well, yeah, I guess this is a hyperspatial spell for psychic creatures that's got the Cocolupia on the art, so just going to check those out. I don't really play these cards, so I'm not particularly excited by this. Super Flaming Hellscrapper looks to be the big fire shield trigger that they're pushing, which makes sense. At first, I think it was Burst Shot, and then that was quickly power crept by the original Hellscrapper, and then now we have a Super Flaming Hellscrapper, which costs 6. So like Deathgate and DNA Spark, you've got that element of 6-drop shield trigger consistency going. So got the Husbando over here looking very menacing. He is ready to wipe your board. Coccolupia got a cool artwork, that's nice. And we shall now move on to the nature section. Leaf Storm Trap looks to have replaced Natural Snare as the big nature shield trigger. I think this card is very good in a format filled with psychic creatures. Normally when you ensnare an opposing creature, when you chuck it into their mana zone, yes, you get rid of a creature on the field, but it's not that bad in the sense they get an extra mana, they get more mana to play with to do stuff. With this, though, it's basically an unconditional spot removal, a shield trigger unconditional spot removal for psychic creatures that doesn't give your opponent any upside at all. So I think that's pretty strong. Kind of similar to Aqua Burster, actually. So yeah, I guess I can see why this is the new de facto nature shield trigger. It's pretty good. So we got reprints for Ripple and Fantastic Mr. Fox. That's pretty neat. And I also see over here, there's Hello Panda in the artwork of Hustle Castle. I think Hustle Castle is a pretty cool card. I feel like the TCG could have benefited from having something like it. I don't think it sees much play in Duel Masters Plays. I honestly don't remember this card seeing any play at all, but that could just be me. But yeah, here the text here is whenever you put a creature into the battle zone, if you have 5 or less cards in your hand, draw a card. So it's basically Mysterious. I think that would be pretty nice for nature in the TCG. But I digress. Moving on to the multi-civ cards, good old Tajamal is getting a reprint, so I guess that's nice for the TCG fans, even though Tajamal has not seen play in DMP in a very long time. Bega Vizier of Shadow is getting a reprint. Now this, or I guess I should say, has gotten a reprint since this set has already come out. It's interesting to me because I feel like this card has just never left New Division. Every time I play New Division, this card is available for selection. So I don't know why he's always in the format, but I guess with Legend of Plays 2023, it will continue to be in the format for the foreseeable future. Another card that's coming back, Bolshahiro, or Bolshiro? Bolshario. Okay, third time's the charm. I think this card's pretty neat. I feel like he will continue to see play for as long as the 5-drop psychic spells are in the format. I think he's a nice consistency booster and he's not too broken, so I think this is a pretty good reprint. I'm not sure if he's at risk of rotating soon, but yeah, I guess that doesn't matter anymore. Sky Sword is getting a reprint, and looky here, we've got our friend good old Goldarm. So I'm very happy about this reprint. I think, well, I guess just thinking back to my time playing DMP over the past year or more even, there were so many situations where I was like, I would love to have Goldarm in this deck. And I guess my prayers have been answered. Even though the Dream Mates aren't coming back as an archetype, good old Goldarm is available. I don't know if I should be worried. Based on the number of multi-civ cards that I'm seeing, maybe the game is moving in a direction where multi-civ is going to be the way to build decks. Because if you remember maybe like 2 years ago, if you were playing back then or if you were watching our videos back then, many of the prevalent decks like the Kingdom Geog deck, even the Steambug decks, the other Lost Crusader decks like with the King and Queen Alcadeus, they were very heavy on the multi-civ. Anything with the gods pretty much. But lately, we've shifted back to mono-civ. So with all of the multi-civ cards printed in set 17, and all of these utility-based multi-civ cards coming back into the format, I have to wonder, is the game going back to the era of multi-civ deck building? But anyway, moving on. We've got Pointa finally coming back into the format. Andrew and I love this dude's voice, so we are going to be very excited about him. Draw 1, discard 1 is always very solid. Well, discard 1 from your opponent. But, you know, the game has certainly evolved since Pointa was last legal, so I wonder if he's still going to be good. I feel like this dude definitely has potential to see play, and it's a simple effect that the TCG fans can appreciate, so I'm excited. I am very excited. All right, so there's Cybergon, and so there's Gallic, so Pointa's brother is coming back into the format. I guess it makes sense. Heaven's Gate is coming back, and Gallic is here to hunt down the blockers summoned by Heaven's Gate. I also saw this dude come back, Mardox. Andrew and I used to refer to him as Rothus, but this dude is a lot better than Rothus. He has Speed Attacker, and he has a built-in optional Proclamation of Death style effect. So I think that's really neat. It is the ultimate form of role compression, and this dude definitely saw a lot of play when he was legal. I guess we'll see if he sees play again. A lot of throwback cards, especially throwbacks to an era of the game I really enjoyed around that set 8-ish era. I really enjoyed Duel Masters Plays back then, so I'm just hoping these cards take me back to that happy time of DM plays. We've got Triple Mouth coming back. I quite like this card. It's not seeing that much play these days, but I feel like if the right deck emerges, this guy is going to be a great inclusion. So always happy to see him. And we've got some Windax. So it's pretty funny. The 5-mana 2000 cycle from set 10. Everybody made their way back into the set. We've got Windax, Gallic, Pointa, and Skysword, except Estel. I guess Tajamal is standing in for his brother Estel, but poor Estel couldn't come back for Legend of Plays 2023. But yeah, so that's just about all I wanted to talk about for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed that discussion, and I hope you're looking forward to the future formats that include these cards. I am certainly looking forward to it. I hope I don't live to regret those words. Anyway, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next time.